Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining in today. My name is Gayatri, and I would be walking you through everything practice management from uLaw's perspective and also in a general perspective of a legal professional. What are the kind of obligations that you have to fulfill, and in terms of personal management, time management, business management. Mainly, we're going to focus on the three areas, that is financial management, client management, and file management, which is MAC management. So many of you might have come across quite a lot of these terms that I'm using, but the implementation when it comes to practice and the practice management is what we're going to see today. And I would be focusing probably around 20 minutes odd on the presentation, and another 25 minutes on the uLaw program, and I will open the floor for 5 minutes for any questions. All right, so quickly jumping into what we're seeing here, which is everything practice management has an agenda. Client intake, service and communication, one of the most primary key points that you need to remember in order to fulfill your professional obligation. And the file management, financial management, as I already mentioned. These are the three things that you would be facing with the client side, as well as you would be handling with your practice or the business side of it. And we're also going to look at the other few components that you're seeing here on the screen. Like I said, client intake is one of the most primary and essential services that you might have to be rendering to your client in order to ensure you're able to capture all the details accurately without any issues, without missing out on any information, making sure you're keeping it as elaborate as possible, but at the same time, you're following a procedure that would not be very hectic for your client, that will not be very extensive for your client. At the same time, it's not time consuming. So in today's world, people just intake through forms that are available online, that are probably called as web forms or something that's available on your website. There are several ways people intake their clients, and they do a detailed recording of calls and consultations. Conflict checking is definitely very important when it comes to this part. So when you're intaking a client, make sure that you, first of all, record all the details. You have some form that we discussed already. You're following one of the methodologies to record all the conversations, consultations, correspondences, details, and when everything is done, the next step you proceed further is conflict check. So before you complete the analysis of whether you are going to be taking in this client or not, this is a step that you will have to perform in order to make sure that you're proceeding ahead, engaging with this client. So when you find there is no conflict check, you will be able to proceed ahead and engage with this client, determine whether you're going to collect a retainer, whether the retainer is going to be deposited into your trust account, and what is the method of payment that you're choosing. There's several things that you would be, probably considering, and you will be able to arrive at a conclusion whether, okay, I have a trust account. I'm going to utilize check. I'm going to make sure that the client pays me through a method of payment called check, or through, email transfer, whatever it could be the method of payment, making sure that the client is receiving client is making the payment to you, you're receiving the funds, you're depositing it into the trust account, and you provide the client with a receipt. Finally, you are engaging with the client and giving them a client intake form that's been done, giving them a retainer letter that's been completed, and then you go ahead, proceed with the work. Now, there could be chances where you don't proceed with the work. you have some kind of conflict with the client, or for some reason the client doesn't come back to you, you're going to take necessary steps to give them a non-engagement letter and move on. Maybe you refer them to another colleague of yours, or you don't bother about it, but at least you provide them with a non-engagement letter and proceed further. While that is a key area of your practice, which is client intake and communication, we also have other client intake service and communication, which is retainer agreement. While you collect the retainer, there are certain things to keep in mind, like you are drafting a retainer agreement. This is one of the first client-facing forms that you're probably doing after the client intake form, of course. Client intake form is not having any kind of binding agreement between you and your client, but at least this part here, which is when creating a retainer agreement, you need to be sure of certain things, like, you're making sure the nature and scope, the client responsibilities, the scheduling and course of representation, and the method of payment. How would you like them to pay you? How often would you like them to replenish the retainers, and other retainer arrangements and termination details, including you will have to make sure everything is elaborately said on the retainer agreement. So that way you don't have to go back and forth communicating with the client on certain things. While you are done with the retainer agreement, collected the retainer, and proceed with the work, that is when the file management comes into place. So you start off with adding a file checklist of your own, or you utilize Law Society's file opening checklist. Whatever it is that you're using, make sure that you follow it on a regular basis for all your clients, and make sure that you are able to complete all the requirements that's available in there, right from the conflict check to opening a separate matter for each file, opening with a sequential number, index number, making sure they're all chronologically ordered, secured. If you're storing electronic data, make sure they're all in a cloud-based platform that is going to be readily available for you, and at the same time secured, like Google Drive, OneDrive. So uLaw platform has integration with Google Drive and OneDrive. So that's why I'm saying that in case you're someone who collects documents in a, maybe in an electronic format through email, or you scan them and you store them, make sure they're all secured and organized in a file, which has a file number, proper organization through indexing, and you're able to find all the information of the client and their records at the same time, at any time, in fact. Now, that is file management. A good file management definitely should include, or you should keep those points in mind. And talking about financial management definitely includes quite a lot of things, such as making sure you're issuing the receipts, you're getting the payments into the respective bank accounts. If it's a retainer, it goes only into your trust account. If it's a client payment, it can be brought into general account. Also, are you charging them hourly rate or flat rate? Determining certain things regarding your billing, your systematic payments, ensuring you're recording them in the respective bank accounts, in your books, not in the bank, because bank automatically accepts payment, or at least if you've set auto deposits, it accepts into the respective accounts. But making sure that you record all of these in your books books must match with your bank statements, and you're able to arrive at reconciliation documents every month, and you're able to meet all the standards and obligations that Law Society has mentioned when it comes to financial management, which includes, like I said, creating receipts, creating bills or invoices, tracking payments, recording the expenses, incomes, maintaining the books, reconciling them month on month. Even weekly basis is good. I mean, like if you're someone who does heavy volume of transactions, you could do every week, and preparing the financial statement so that you can understand where do you stand as on today. It's been 6 months since you opened your firm. where are you standing as on today? I've made too many capital expenses. No, I've started in receiving income. Am I able to recover those expenses that I, made earlier? So all of those can be, gauged as per your firm's health under the financial reports. Now, the financial management includes quite a lot of ledgers and journals. So at the back end, we, use the inputs you provide us in the program to provide these outputs to you in the form of ledgers, journals, reconciliation documents, etc. So you, from your end, have to make sure that you are able to record the information as per your bank records and as per what is exactly happening in the real life scenario. The real life scenario, a client pays you, you record it in the client's books, and you invoice the client, you record that in uLaw. And you move the money from trust to general, you record that in uLaw. So every step or movement that you take towards your client's file needs to be recorded in the program. So that way we will be able to efficiently generate the documents that you need for your legal purposes, especially for your professional obligations that you need to fulfill for all of these. Now, moving on to the next one, which is business management. As I already mentioned, I'm going to be focusing more on the financial management, etc., which includes financial management, file management, and client management. But we also want to see how business management works. So these are certain points to keep in mind, which has an efficient use of software. So you've all already thought of it. You have a software, making sure everything is secured. And you have security for your mobile devices, etc. Just excuse me, guys. Hey, sorry about that. I have some sore throat issues today, so I just had to mute myself. Sorry about that. Yeah. So I was talking about business management here. So there's a good software that you all need, because software does a lot of work on its own than you trying to do certain things as to putting journals together, putting ledgers together, putting your accounts together, putting your client intakes, etc., etc., etc. So just trust me that a software does way more work than we all think. But again, we cannot work on our own. We need your inputs into the software that would help you to provide all the details and information in the form of records, statements, ledgers, balances, etc., that you need to fulfill your professional obligation as a paralegal or a lawyer, or if you're helping your lawyer as an assistant, helping them fulfill their professional obligations too. So a software does quite a lot of the work, and you need to make sure everything is secured. There's a mobile device that would help you to allow you to have all of them in a more secured manner. Okay, one of them has joined in. I think they're not able to hear us. Elaine, I hope you can click on the speaker option on the top. There's something called audio mode. the audio mode, you can click on computer or phone, and you'll be able to hear us. Great. Okay, so yeah, good software, making sure you have secured and backup always, secured mobile devices, and ability to work from anywhere in this world, very, very important. So you should be right now be able to work literally not only from your office, but from your home office, from anywhere, because with how COVID works, we all know that we can't bank on just making sure I can go into my office tomorrow and take care of things. So you should be able to really move your stuff, keep everything on cloud so you can always access things from anywhere. And as for the professional obligation, I'm sure you're all well aware of CPD hours. You need to make sure that you're completing the required CPD hours. I think around 15 or 16 hours a year is what your obligation is. I think uLaw delivers around 12 hours to 15 hours in a year. Those are all free CPDs. I think almost every alternate Friday, twice a month at least we have. So you can go online and look up for uLaw CPD, or you can reach out to us on support@uLawPractice.com, and we can send you the links for you to register. And you'll find many useful topics there regarding uLaw, and also the professional obligations for completing the required CPD hours. And memberships, making sure you're registering yourself with the membership associations, whether Paralegal Association, Ontario, OPA, or CBA, or CLA, whatever, making sure that you're registering there, and reviewing new legislation and case laws, and reviewing all professional conduct guidelines, very, very important. As we all already saw other things, I want to make sure that I'm keeping this short and I jump into uLaw program. We're all aware of time management, so I'm not going to speak too much on time management and personal management, but please keep in mind time management and personal management is as equally as important as the other two slides we spoke about, but I'm sure we all can manage this better in order to get the practice management running better. So making sure that you're able to efficiently practice from anywhere, and at the same time meet all your requirements and be more organized is the key agenda for this particular topic. So I'll walk you through how you can systematically manage all of these from the program, and that would help you to understand how seamlessly you can manage your practice, your accounting, and your client management and file management, more importantly. So right now, you're able to see, I hope you're all able to see uLaw screen. So this is our uLaw account. Some of you have already registered, some of you are just registering. You would definitely be able to get your account before end of the day. Just make sure you log in with your username, password, because this is a cloud-based program. It's there on your browser. You need to get on a browser to add in the browser details, which is what you see here. And you need to add in your username, password, and then you're logged in. So once you're logged in, dashboard is going to be more like your landing page. But when you're in your landing page, you might, from your account, not be able to see too many things. You're seeing so many things here, like recently modified contacts, matters, news, because these are certain things that I have created for my personal use. You can always do that. Settings is there on top of the screen. You can go into settings. You can manage your dashboard. You can manage your contacts. You can manage your calendar, anything that you need for your practice purposes. And once you are done, you can go into contacts. So whatever you enter in the program is what will reflect in dashboard. So if you don't have any contacts in the program, there's nothing going to be in the dashboard. So don't look at an empty dashboard and wonder what it is. So once you start filling in your contacts, matters, invoices are there, they're pending invoices, then you will start seeing the usefulness of a dashboard. Okay. So the next one you see here is contacts. Let's say you have a new client that you're going to be onboarding soon. The client has reached out to you, or the prospective client has reached out to you and said that this is my issue and I'm looking for some legal advice and I need your help. So you immediately take down the details, come into uLaw program, click on add new client and start adding their information. Now you can add it in any way you want. And okay, and make sure that you're able to add in all the information such as the address, the source of contact, very important, whether it's a client referral, what is their job title, the street name, addresses, phone number, etc. So when you're done with all of those, you'll be able to save the client's name, and you'll be in a rush to open the file, but I would say don't open a file yet. A file is called matter here, but wait for it. Click on action, do a conflict check, and then you see I deliberately clicked on all of these. It was only checked on all company and employment screening, but I also want to check all events and dockets and all matters, making sure there's no conflict for Bob the Builder here. So once you know that there are no conflicts, then you go ahead and create the file, which is the matter. Until then, please don't click on a matter yet. Okay, it's a very important step. We always recommend this because the whole conflict check purpose works when you're a few years or few months, or who knows, within few months, if you're handling too much, you will be able to probably have too many clients. And when you're having too many clients, you want to make sure you do the conflict check right away and ensure that there is no potential conflict. So you go back in here, you click on matter, and you open the file over for the client. So when you open a file, you have to make sure there are a few things that you keep in mind. Matter title is very important and mandatory. What is this client reaching out to you for? Is it a small claims matter? Is it a landlord-tenant issue? Is it something to do with speeding ticket, parking ticket, whatever it is? So let's just say it's a parking ticket, and you're a paralegal, and let's say that they're reaching out to you for some help, and you have to choose. You work on a several area of practices, so all of these are here, but you want to make sure this particular file is attributed to Highway Traffic Act or traffic violations or POA, whatever it is. And then you have to make sure you get the file number, anything that you have with you, extra or additional details. And then you can, if you have hourly rate per hour, you want to change that for this client, you can absolutely do that at this point in time. Now, if you're a new paralegal, new lawyer who's not charging taxes, you can just make sure to do this as 0 so that the default tax rate is not charged, which is, let's say, what is set up for your province when you register. Okay, so you click on save, the file number is created, and once the file number is created, you proceed with handing over a retainer agreement to your client. So where do you find this retainer agreement in the program? You click on compliance, you click on retainer letter, and let's assume you want a $500 retainer from the client before you start the work. So you can download this retainer letter, and of course the retainer letter looks like this. It comes off with your letterhead, your other information, and the client's information. I didn't add the address to save some time, so you can add the address and other information. Make sure you don't skip those primary details of your client. And once you add in all the information, you'll see that you're asking your client for a $500 before you begin the work. So now this is what is the retainer agreement that we discussed about in the slides, and all the details that you want to include over there. So once the client pays the retainer signs the retainer agreement and pays the retainer into your trust account, because that's where you need to get your retainer in, because you have not even started your work yet, so you haven't made it as your money yet. It is your client's money, so it goes into the trust account. So you click on Disbursements Retainer tab, click on New Retainer, and accept this $500. Maybe they sent an email transfer. So enter this $500 over here. received from, give them a receipt and apply it. So when you give them a receipt, it very clearly shows them that you have received, you're in receipt of the money, and you're issuing them the receipt saying that, okay, this is the matter for which you've given me the amount, and the new retainer is over here, and here's the information. Okay, you go back in here, click on invoice, and you will start seeing that there's nothing in here in the pre-bill matter because you have only received a $500 retainer. Now, to raise an invoice, you need to start doing the work. And to make that money yours, you need to work on the event title. You need to enter, saying, let's say I met with a client. So I had an initial client meeting. The initial client meeting was about around 40 to 48 minutes. And you want to charge the client for exactly the same time. So what would you do? You click on the drop down. Instead of re-entering that amount, you simply click on autofill billable. Whatever is the time you took as a duration is the time you're going to bill them for. Of course, you have an option to bill them a different time, but since I'm billing the same time, I clicked on autofill billable. The next time you met them, you're doing, the next work that you're doing for them is document drafting. You wanted to draft a couple of documents. It took you about an hour, and you want to charge them for the same time. So let's say, or you want to charge them, let me show you how do I do for the different time. Let's say I'm only charging them 42 minutes, of which 18 minutes was discounted, or for some reason you're not charging them. Maybe you thought that's the valid time to charge them. Okay, so while you do that, you're going to go ahead and click on the next event. You had a court hearing. You had appeared for this court hearing. Let's say you have spent around 2 hours and you want to charge your client a flat rate because you don't want to charge them $500 because your rate is $250 per hour, and you don't want to charge them, the $500. So instead, you go ahead and charge them $300 for this. And you have any description, you can type in there, you can record it, court visit, completed, whatever. Additional information can go in there, and you can save it. So when you're done with this, and when you go to disbursements retainer tab, because you have a disbursement to add, which is some courier charges or photocopy, whatever, you're going to click on pay disbursements from general. Mostly all these courier charges, admin charges, and other charges are done from your general account. And you just say that item name is going to be so-and-so, which is, in this case, let's say we're doing courier cost. And it took you about $20. You're charging them that. You're charging your client also for the same, which is reporting expense into your books. How did you pay for it? You used your personal credit card. So you go to cash and say you used owner's pocket and save it. Okay, so there's several ways you can record this expense under. It can go under your own pocket. It can go under your general account, your business credit card, and you can go and enter all of these events here. So your matter events are entered, disbursements are entered. Don't worry about disbursement, guys. We have another webinar 2 weeks from now for disbursements demystified. I'll be doing everything in detail over there. So the primary thing or the order to keep in your mind is you collect a retainer, you work on the file, disbursements, legal fee goes under matter events, any additional parties to the file like a joint retainer or an opponent, all of them going here. Documents that you want to, so far that you've downloaded, you want to, tag them in here into your Google Drive or OneDrive. You can open the drive under documents and add them over here. Want to see whatever transactions has happened in your trust or general respectively, you can click on these 2 tabs and see. Now, there are tons of letters and documents and statements. They're all available for you under letters over here. They're available under quote forms. You have quote forms. Under document generation, you have tons and tons of documents for you. which you can definitely go through yourself and find out, there's receipts, there's statements, there are non-engagement letters. These are all actually organized well under compliance as under different subheaders, like, these are documents for client intake. These are the quarterly statements document that you want to give. These are other documents, like, if you're not engaging, if you're closing the file, if you're disposition. What is it? Basically, you can go and look up under compliance and you find all of these documents under compliance over there. Now, let's say I want to raise an invoice, send it to the client. So, on the top, you see how the projected balance is seen. Okay, this is what is important. You need to keep a tab on this every time you have some money that comes in, or you invoice, or you at least add a few events or disbursements. What is the projected balance here? Have I completed all the retainer that the client gave? Oh, the client still owes me money. Okay, now is the time that I send them an invoice, pre-bill, always preview. It would take an additional minute, but it's worth it, so that if there's any mistake, you can definitely catch it at the stage. You have the invoice information here. You have the client information here. You have the matter title, everything. There's no invoice number here because it's a preview. So you have the item name, etc., the legal fee, then the disbursement, and what they've given you so far as retainer. Finally, you have amount due. Now, if you go back into uLaw, you can do a final invoice. And the beauty is when you do the final invoice, uLaw will automatically unlock your retainer and say that, hey, now this is your money. This is all your money. Go ahead and transfer this from the trust account to the general account by simply clicking on question mark. You have to wait for about a minute so the invoice gets downloaded. And once the invoice gets downloaded, you will be able to see the transfer amount in it. Okay, so I haven't made any changes to my preview invoice. You can click on question mark, or you can click on withdraw from trust and trust invoice payment transfer and move all the money from trust to the general. So the concept is nothing but you have money lying in your trust. How can you make it yours? You can make it yours by working on that file, by recording the dockets, by recording the disbursements. You could have made a court filing fee. You would have made a courier charge, photocopy. Record them. Unless and until you record them, your invoice will not carry that information, and you will not be able to see that in your invoice. And if it's not there in your invoice, you cannot justify to your client or law society why you moved that $500. So you're going to quickly move that $500 by clicking on trust, and you're withdrawing from trust invoice payment transfer. Of course, you're going to do this in the bank first. You're first going to transfer the $500 in your bank. Then you're going to come back here and give that reference number. If you don't do it in your bank first, how would you get this reference number? So do it in your bank, come back into uLaw, click on the same trust, whatever action you did there. You went into your bank, you went into trust, you withdrew from trust. Same way you come here, you go into your trust, you withdraw from trust and pay yourself, which is paying into the general account. Immediately a Form 9A download option comes up and you can just download this. This is one of the most important documents that you need to generate when you are doing an electronic fund trust transfer, because nobody is going into bank these days to transfer money from your trust account to your general account, because it takes seconds to do it online. But when it takes seconds to do it online, it is as easy as it is that you can make mistakes, you can exploit it. So law society says, okay, when you are transferring money from trust to the general, I want to see what is it for. Is it really happen? Okay, give me the requisition number or a reference number from your bank. What is the amount? Who's the client you're moving this money for? What is the reason? Whether this is the invoice for courier fee, legal fee, and then what account was it debited and what account was it credited into? Since your trust account information and general account information is already recorded in uLaw, we were able to pull out this information in less than 10 seconds, right? So, but the importance and essence of this is way more than that 10 seconds, trust me. So recapping, we have what we've done so far. We've done contacts, we've gone to contacts, we've added client, we've done a conflict check. We have opened a matter for Bob the Builder. He had come to you for a parking ticket matter. You have added all the details over here for legal fee, disbursements retainer, and you have transferred the money from trust to general by withdrawing from trust. Now, what is pending? The client payment that the client owes you for $285 and $35 is pending. So click on question mark, accept it, or go to general and deposit and accept the payment. Both are same. Okay, the concept is the same. You're accepting payment into general account. So click on, just follow what you did in the bank. In the bank, you accepted the balance payment into your general account from the client because you're done with the work. You don't have to worry about bringing it into trust account. So you got it into your general account in the method of email transfer. Let's say you're giving the client email transfer reference number, and you're adding the client's information so you can give them the receipt and apply it. You can then download, you can give them a receipt, or you've already given them a receipt for trust retainer amount. Now you're giving them another receipt. Okay, that's another receipt that you see here. Go back in there, you click on statements. This is one of my favorite tabs. You have all the statements that you have to give your client over here. You have statement of activity, bill of cost, every quarter. This is only if your client's file is ongoing, but even some people like to give their clients to get a better visionary of what exactly happened in their trust plus general. So they just give a statement of trust plus general. This gives a fair view of what has happened in your client's trust. Your client is able to understand as well. And you can see that, you know, the client trust account is over here. Okay, and it's going to be all the client trust receipts, all the client disbursements from the trust account. This is the legal fee that you raised for your legal fee, and this is for the disbursement. So the total of $785.35 was satisfied by getting $500 from the trust account and by getting the balance into general account directly from the client payment. So it's about raising an invoice, creating an AR, and fulfilling that AR by either moving the money that is sitting in the trust account or by receiving the money directly into the general account. So that is about a client matter management. Now, if you are done with this file, let's say this is just a simple parking ticket, it's not an ongoing matter like a criminal matter, etc. So you are not going to have this client coming back for this file at least. So you're going to click on Mark As and close it. But before you actually close it here, you decided to give them a closing letter. You know, always give a good closure to a file. Like how you make a good opening by getting a client intake, you should also do a nice file closing over here. So make sure you do this and you go into uLaw, click on Mark As below the client's matter title and close the file. So that way the file is closed by mistake as well. You won't be putting any money into this or taking or billing. Nothing will happen here when the file is closed. So at least there won't be any transactions by mistake and put it in over here. Now coming to the account side of it, all that you did over there in the last, let's say 15, 20 minutes, what happened at the back end is going to be seen here under compliance and monthly complaints. So there are about 8 documents month on month that you would need to prepare, or you would at least need to, gather information for, and of which 2 ledgers, 4 journals, and 2 reconciliation documents. That makes it about 8 documents by default that you will have to prepare for your monthly compliances for Law Society. Now, what does a client's trust ledger show? Now, ledgers show, a broader view picture. It's more of a high-level picture onto the program, what have you entered, etc. The journal goes into more drill-down version of it, because journals are for receipts separate, for payments separate, whereas a ledger shows both receipts and payment into the same statement. Now let's assume I'm showing you the client's trust ledger. Now the ledger will show both the money that has come in and gone out of the trust account, the $500 that came in as a retainer and the $500 that you transferred as a trust transfer for the legal fee and courier charges. Now, if you take client's general same way, you would see that, there was an accounts receivable that was created for the $785 or something. And you would see that this has been fulfilled by the money that came in from trust and the money that was paid by the client into general account, the balance. So there's nothing more pending. So that's the level of information you will get to see in the ledger: the date, the particulars, amount with taxes, without taxes, payments, and balances. Now, if you go into journal, it'll show you more drill down version. Let's say because you have separately client's trust receipt and client's trust payments, which means that it's a separate journal for only receipts. For this client, I want to see only the receipt. So which is the $500 alone will be shown in here. See, the $500 that came into your trust account. So understand what are receipts and what are payments first. Receipts are the money that come into your trust account, and payments are the money that goes out of your trust account. Now, interestingly, let us look at the general disbursement for this particular client today. So with today's date, have I made any general disbursement? So if I had made any general disbursement, it would come out here, which is for the courier cost. So the courier cost was a general disbursement, but I recorded it as a cash payment because I used my personal cash. I didn't use my general account to pay this payment. So this is the level of information we record. We record because Law Society expects these kind of information. Now, most of the time we tend to skip all of this in a rush, but this is what shouldn't happen, especially when you have a software that can convert all the information into these statements in less than 15 minutes. Why not, right? So make sure right from the date, the amount, the method, the description, with taxes, without taxes, everything needs to go in there in a very religious manner, in a very disciplined manner, from day one to until you practice, because the compliance is for your continuity professional, right? It's not something that is one day or one time. It is something that you need to continue on. So let's say I want to show you something about expense book, but before I show expense book, let me add a few expenses and show you. In uLaw, there are a few methods you can add expenses. Now, what we saw all this time was the client side of it, but this program also does the business side of it. Remember, we spoke about business management, how efficient you can manage your business. Now, if you have business, you will have business expenses, you'll have office expenses, you'll have, some personal expenses that you might incur. How do you segregate them? How do you record them is very important. So you can connect your banks to the program by Connect Bank feature that we have. Then you connect your general account and your credit card. These are the 2 general accounts we call, even though credit card is different, but it is also a general account. It is not a trust account. That's what we mean here. So you click on general account, you click on Connect Bank, and all the transactions that you have not recorded for the previous month will come up here. Now, I recorded this yesterday in the program. So it's showing as already recorded. So let's assume that I have not recorded something in my business credit card. So let me go to business credit card and connect bank. And if there's anything that says take action, I will have to take action over here in order to record it. Okay, but in this case, let's say everything has been recorded, but I have something that I incurred today because the Connect Bank will show maybe a day previous. Sometimes it depends on bank to bank. So some bank shows real time, some bank takes some time to update. But if you're in a rush to record this expense, you're like, you know what, I want to record it right away now because I don't want to miss it. So you go and add it manually by clicking on Add Expense or Payment. Office expenses, your office expenses are also equally important because just imagine you're recording all your legal fees because end of the year you want to go and pay taxes. You are only going to pay for the profit. What about your expenses? You need to claim your expenses in order to reduce, or at least in order to reduce your profit and show that, okay, I have incurred certain expenses which I'm offsetting against my profit. You're not evading taxes here. You're not doing that sort of method where you want to deliberately reduce the taxes. You're going to be consciously adding the expenses that are your office expenses that you can offset against the profit. So let's say on 1st of February, you had paid your office rent. So your office rent can be recorded here. And you're going to be adding in the information as to who it was paid for, how much was the office space you've added. You can just say ABC Realty, which is already there, and it was paid out of check. You give them a check, and you can also print the check from the program. So it is very, very simple. You can just download, keep a check in your printer, and you'll be able to show this to give this to your vendor. So besides that, let's say you had some other office expenses, like you bought some printing and stationery, let's say paper and ink, and you want to add that into your expenses. So let's say it costed you $100 and you bought that from Staples or Best Buy, wherever. So make sure you are using the real method of payment. You used debit card, your office debit card, and you enter the payment and you submit it. Now, let's say these two expenses that you recorded today, you want to see it under your expense ledger or journal. You can go into expense book, click here under compliance, and for today's date, I want to see. So you will see courier cost in there. You will see the the paper and ink because I used general account for these two expenses. Okay, so making sure that you are able to record all these information, like whether it's a client expense or whether it's an office expense, you will have to add in all these information and bring it down here. Now, why did that rental not come in? Because I recorded the expense book for third. Now, if I go back and download the compliance with expense book for maybe, first to third. So let's say first to third, and that will bring up the rent for $250 that I paid. Of course, I did so many other expenses, but let's see if the rent for $250 that I paid is over here. See, office rent, $250 that I paid on first. Okay. And the other things like printing paper, the courier cost, everything is over here. That's the level of data entry that needs to go in every day, about 10 to 15 minutes, even if you spend on this program, other than, of course, your client interactions. You will be able to reconcile the books on a daily basis also. It's like there's so many law firms that do daily business closings. So they will also close their accounts on a daily basis at 5 p.m. before they leave. So if you are someone who is striving to become, bigger in volume transactions, bigger in, numbers, that way, I think a software like this will help you to keep a track of all your details of your client, of your business, of reconciliations, etc. So when you're done adding all the information, this is one last thing for 2 minutes I want to talk about. What are we doing all this for? Of course, to keep a track of your clients' information, to interact with them, to give them all the documents they need, to keep my Law Society compliances up to date. But what does Law Society expect from you end of the day is to make sure what you received into your bank, what you paid out of bank are all recorded in your books and you've kept track of them. As per the date on which you want to complete that reconciliation, let's say for 31st of Jan, for the balance that you see in your bank statement should match with the program by clearing all the transactions that you're seeing in here, and you're able to reconcile the books. While that reconciliation is done, you will be able to complete and get the reconciliation report and proceed for the next month. Now, that is what you will be doing in your your reconciliation processes. You then will be able to get all the statements that you need for your compliances. And besides that, like I said, you also have calendar and analytics over here below accounts. And you will be able to see, you will be able to sync your dockets, you'll be able to sync all, we sync with Google, so you can synchronize your calendar with Google Calendar by signing in with Google here, sync calendar, and you can sync all the dockets that you see in here, which is also in your Google Calendar. And you can also print more other statements. You can use this as a scratch pad if you want. You can also look at the timesheet revenue by employee. If you have 2 or 3 employees in a firm, you want to get the revenue, you can see all of those over here. And lastly, analytics is what will give you a big overall picture of your, let's say, revenue, expense, profit and loss. I want to see fee book. I want to see some unbilled hours. I want to see some work in progress. Now, all of this for the quarter that I want to see how it's going for this quarter. And then again, for this quarter so far, what has been my expenses, what has been my profit, and whether I'm doing like better in the certain area of practices, whether I've charged them fees for the revenue. If you want to go with an area of practice, you can also see that there's a tab that says revenue by category or fee book charged by category, and you can do that for a quarter. And for this quarter, you will know how much you've spent on real estate, how much in small claims, how much in traffic violations. You have a record of how much you have charged as a fee to your client and how good are you doing in the respective area of practices. So we can see that landlord tenant board and small claims is topping up your practice, and the value. And you can see every other aspect. You can even go into details. You can go into see what has been your revenue for this income period. What does it say, etc. And I think this is something that we all tend to sometimes miss out on because the life is too fast for us to. So we come in, maybe maximum you do is create a client, open a file, do the dockets, enter the disbursements, raise an invoice, transfer the money, make it yours, and move on. But there are things beyond that, not just for the Law Society purposes, but also for your better management. That's why we had on the Everything Practice Management that had calendar management, that had analytics. So you need to analyze and gauge your firm's health. Where are you standing? Whether you want to make any differences to your practice. So all of these are available in the program for you readily. You don't have to spend time calculating your revenue, the percentage, what was the fee area-wise. Everything is available. You just have to come here, take action for you to at least, give an overview as to what is happening. Okay, so I'd like to stop here and pause to take any questions or to see if there are any questions so far. Catherine, I know you're in a class with students. There are some who've joined in as well. Some who joined in late, don't worry, I've recorded the entire session You can take a look at it. It will be all the links for yesterday's class and today's class will be sent to Catherine by end of the day. Catherine, any questions from your class who's in there? I'd be happy to answer any questions. I can keep the floor open for another 10 minutes. No questions in the class? Great. Okay. Either they've understood too well or they didn't understand much from what I spoke. If I was too fast or if I was, not probably, touching certain points that you expected me to, you can probably tell that over here, or we have another session where I would be discussing disbursements, demystified. We can even go through certain things over there that we didn't do today. It's you can all come back with more questions because I'm assuming you would be practicing on your account. And they'll be recording as well, because sometimes when I'm too fast for some of you, you might not be able to recollect. So the recording might be available. Just use the recording. I'd like to request, other than the recording, I'd like to request and encourage all of you to use our uLaw answers by clicking on help. There are tons of tutorials available under tutorials, uLaw answers, uLaw user guide, compliance guide. There's so many that you see here. They're all real, guys. They're really helpful. And besides this, you can go on to our YouTube channel, uLawPractice, and subscribe to uLawPractice. I'm going to share the link here for the playlist. Okay, the playlist will be helpful. Viewer number 12. Okay, how to delete a matter? How can show all my dockets on the invoice? Okay, you cannot delete a matter. Good question. You cannot delete a matter. You can only archive it. Okay, once a matter is opened, you will have to just simply make sure to archive it if you don't want it, but you cannot delete it. That is the answer to your question 1. And your question 2, I'm assuming, how can you show all your dockets on your invoice? You need to keep adding, when you go to matter events, you click on add new event, you can add whatever is the consultation or whatever you have worked on. You can then add a rate or time to this file or this matter event, and you can raise an invoice by clicking on invoice. You see there's an invoice pending. Above that there is invoice. You can click on it, pre-bill, preview, and see what is there pending. What do you want to raise? Is it matching with what you want to raise? Then you complete the invoice. So you see the docket I just added, $200 for consultation at this time is over here. So you can just go in there, complete the invoice, and it will be seen in your invoice. So the docket will be seen in your invoice if it is there under matter events with respective time or flat rate. If there is neither, let's say your billable time or flat rate is blank, then you won't see it anywhere. You will only see it in uLaw program as a docket. It will not come up on your invoice. So if you want an event or a docket to come on your invoice, remember guys, either it should carry time value or it should carry a flat rate. Okay? Awesome. Any other questions? Good question, viewer number 12. I didn't touch upon saying the matter can be deleted, etc. Yeah, so matter cannot be deleted. It can be archived. So, okay. So that is why I'm saying you have to do conflict check. You have to be very careful before you open a matter, because when you do a conflict check and you find out that, there's a conflict, you cannot go back and delete the matter. Okay. So that's the idea of saying don't open the matter until you see it. Okay. So Catherine, I'm going to stop the recording here if all of you don't have any other questions. Thank you so much for confirming that, Catherine. Thank you all for joining in today. I hope I've made a little difference to your uLaw learning process. I will make a little more difference in the Disbursements Demystified webinar 2 weeks from now. I'm wishing all of you a very a good thing with using uLaw program. I'm just hoping you all are able to use it well, able to pass your exams. You start practicing, you can start using uLaw. Do reach out to us if you have any kind of questions outside probably your class hours. Also, you can just reach out to us on uLaw support@uLawPractice.com. The email ID I'll be sending Catherine. Catherine, you can share all of these details. Viewer number 12, the description does not show on the invoice. You need to add the description. I didn't add a description. That's why it's not showing on the invoice. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for joining in today. All the very best. Take care. Talk to you on probably 2 weeks from now. Thank you.